asking questions without any hesitation is what gets you opportunities in life. You really can't wait for the environment to get right. You need to get right within yourself first, and everything will happen on its own.
On today's episode, we are featuring Radhika Bajoria, who is a LinkedIn influencer and a content creator based in Mumbai, India. Having charted her journey through NM College and an internship at Times of India, Radhika was recently recognized as one of LinkedIn's top voices in 2021. Radhika considers herself a storyteller with a passion for writing and loves researching business trends. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the exciting journey of Radhika Bajoria. Hi Radhika, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy that New York is finally getting back on track and we can go out in public spaces without mask if you're vaccinated. So that's a relief. That feels like normal. And yeah, it's just been such a surreal experience, right? Yeah. How about you?
That's not the case in India. In India, it's just been a difficult journey for each one of us, whether our families are affected or no. It's just so heartbreaking to see the scenario that's going on in our surroundings.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that we are all coming together as one and helping each other in our ways. So we're hoping that we will come out of this soon. But yeah, hopes are alive. But good to see that New York has come out of this and everyone is safe there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's you are so correct in saying that, we all of us united in trying to get India out of this situation, and the results are showing for themselves. We are gradually emerging out of it now. Still, it's a pretty bad situation, but with testing and vaccination, I guess in some time we'll go back to normal. Uh, so yeah, that's amazing, and it's so exciting how so many people have just lost their motivation during this pandemic, whereas there are other people who started new businesses and have been doing a lot of things. And I think you fall in the latter
Yeah.
category, where you've been hard at work. I follow your updates on LinkedIn and I find them very intriguing, and that's the reason I thought it would be great to have you on the show. So my first question to you is that you were recently selected
Yeah.
as one of the LinkedIn Top Voices 2021 in the Next Gen category. How do you see your journey as a content creator from your first post to earning this accolade?
So I really feel like it's still a journey, and this is just one cornerstone that I have achieved so far. There are many more things that will come my way, but I think the only way I can describe my journey is by saying that I've been consistent throughout. I still remember those days wherein I used to sit back in the office where I was interning back in my college days and at least spent 1 or 1.5 hour going through the news updates and searching what to write on. And I had been doing that almost on a daily basis, which has reaped fruits for me now. And I feel it's a circle of life. You have to, start something. You have to start at an origination point. And if you don't do that, you will never know the path ahead. So I think rather than just thinking about where to start, when to start, or how to start, you just need to know why should you start. You need to know the purpose, and I think if the purpose is clear to you, you can go ahead and consistently perform in it. For me, my purpose was to educate myself because, frankly speaking, I never read news on a daily basis while I was in my college until I joined the representative and started writing on LinkedIn. So that's how I wanted to educate myself as well, which I did through my posts and my research that went behind. And apart from that, I also started to influence the people by my content. When they used to write to me personally or in the comment section, I came to know that, okay, this is something which people are liking. This is something which I need to write more on and focus on. So I went there ahead, I put ahead my thoughts, and I faced these questions which come to me and which states that, how are you so confident in putting out your thoughts there? Don't you feel that you'll be judged? I feel that everybody is judging you. You are judging yourself when you think that people are judging around you. So, it's a mentality that everybody has naturally. You need to accept it. So I think acceptance is a big key to anybody's success or anybody's journey. You have to take things as they come and never be bogged down by them, because I still remember my first post had just got 3 likes, which was, of course, uh, heartbreaking for me because I put 2 hours into it. But then sooner or later, I realized that it's not the traction really that matters, but your inner satisfaction that you get after penning down your thoughts into the words. So, that in itself is an achievement. And if you really count these small little things in life, you will stay happy. And I think happiness is also very important part of your success. It defines how you carry that success, how you carry that in your head. Many people say success has come to your head, and they just then stop there. They never move ahead. They feel that they have achieved it all. But if you feel that there is still a lot to do, you never will stop, and you will always keep on exploring, because the world, even though it might seem small, it is a very huge globe, and we're just a speck of dust here. So I just feel that the journey is has just begun. This is one recognition, and I'm sure that many people who are consistent today will get this kind of a recognition in the coming days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And it's always heartbreaking when you put so much effort into something and it does not give you the kind of recognition or approval that you're looking for. And that is where a lot of people go wrong, where a lot of it ends up becoming about that validation from others, that okay, these are the number of likes or these are the comments that I've gotten. But once that starts to go away for whatever reason, you will lose your motivation to do things. So as you said, if you do something that you are happy about, then you will keep doing it rather than looking for this vanity matrix, which sometimes
Yeah.
depresses a lot of people. And I relate to that because when I was getting started in media, I knew how difficult it was going to be, because when I edited my first podcast episode, it took me 15 days to do it. It was just audio, but because I was so conscious about each and every word that I was saying, I couldn't bring myself to release it, and so I kept tweaking it for 15 days. And eventually I kind of got comfortable, and now it only takes me 90 minutes.
Mm.
But when I was starting, 15 days seemed like an eternity. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of good advice in what you just spoke. And I think anybody who heeds your advice will be in a
And I,
position.
I just had to pick this thought from what you said, that it's good to be self conscious, but it's not good to be self critical. Because if you criticize yourself, you're just putting yourself into that hollowness of emptiness. I mean, you will fall into the pitfall by yourself, and it will be difficult to rise up again from there if you're very critical about yourself. But if you're conscious, if you're aware of your surroundings, I think things will happen to you naturally, because you will be more acceptable, and things will naturally occur in the universe, because ultimately it's the law of the universe that governs our life and death.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very well said. And I appreciate you being candid and being forthcoming about that. So my next question to you is, what would you describe as the most important skill for someone looking to work in strategic communications? So, what exactly is first like strategic communications, and what can people do to succeed in that?
So, communication is often treated as a concept where reactions are also taken into consideration. But when you respond, that's when you communicate, not when you react. You only react when you are intuitive about something. So, for example, if somebody has kicked me and I don't kick them back, but I take my time to gather my thoughts and understand the purpose behind why that person has done something, that is when I respond to them, and that's how communication is built up. But if I kick them back, it's a reaction that I am giving to the other person. So I think communication is a really integral part of our life. And if you build that particular value, I don't think so you need any kind of a skill set. You just have to go with the flow and just adapt to the surroundings. If you are in a law firm, you learn their communications. If you are in a private equity firm, you learn how they operate. And if you are, suppose, in your educational system, if you're a teacher, your communication style will be different. So I think it's just again coming to the point of acceptance. I don't think so you need any hardcore skills, but what you need is just these life skills that you need to build upon to get the grasp of what communication actually means. And talking about strategic communication, that comes in a business setting. Only in business you really care about the intention of the other party, your party, and how can things pan out well in the interest of both. And that's where you strategize what you say. Every word that comes out of your mouth should be measured, and it should be crisply spoken about. Because I just read this recently that our memory span and our retention span is getting lesser even than the goldfish. The goldfish was known to have the least attention span, but humans are beating the animals, and now we're just too distracted in our world. So how do you get that attention of your people? That's what strategic communication is, I feel. And you just need to really meditate, maybe, or if you like something, just do that. Just don't stop your mind from doing anything. If your mind is racing towards something, just do it. And that's how you will open up to different ideas, you will explore different opportunities, and that's how you'll be able to communicate effectively. I think if you build on these kind of life skills, this kind of a job will become very easier for people who would want to pursue a career in this.
Right. Yeah. And that's so true because, companies, when they set out to hire people, their number one skill set that they're looking for is communication skills. Because as long as there is proper communication, regardless of what channel it is, then things can keep moving smoothly. But if there is a gap in communication, then that certainly creates a scope for confusion. And, of course, where there's confusion, there is scope for mistakes, and businesses do not afford to make mistakes these days. So yeah, I think that's pretty good, and I think uh, it's so true that every industry has a different communication style, but if you adapt to it, then it's essentially the same mold that you are reshaping in different form to suit your job requirements. So yeah, I think that's great. So now, speaking about your content, of course, I don't need to go into details of how popular it is on LinkedIn. I myself follow it and I see how much engagement it generates, and for the right reasons, of course. Not only is your content amazing in terms of bringing that awareness of what's happening in the business world, you also do not shy away from bringing in your personality to it. So I'm just curious to know, how do you plan your content? Is there a particular framework that you follow, or do you just go with your instincts?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I don't go with my instinct, but I go with my intellect. There's a difference between the two. When you talk about your instinct, you are following your heart. And when you're talking about your intellect, you're following your mind. I don't intuitively think always, but I do apply my intellect given the kind of a platform LinkedIn is and given the audience that it has. So, what I do is I just scroll through the news platforms on a daily basis. I follow some brand pages wherein I get to know about the recent developments in the branding industry, because I also do write about brand stories since I've done my graduation in marketing and I'm an avid reader in the space. So I think I just go out there, I just look at the information that's available to the general public as well, but they fail to look at it given their busy schedules in life. So I just do that. I read it. I see how I can present it in a much simpler way, in a much crispier and an engaging way, and I just then put it out. And I don't have this pressure in my mind always that I have to do my content consistently. I have to do it on a daily basis. I mean, it's fine if I've skipped out on a particular day. If you have that plan in mind, if you have that schedule, I mean, it just builds nothing but pressure. So it's better to just flow with the life, just be like a river, and that's how you will shine when the sun really reflects on you. And this sun is nothing but people's reaction to you, to your, whatever work that you're doing. So I think whenever you are transparent and open in whatever you do, it brings out the best. And people can realize that. I mean, everybody is smart in today's world. Whatever you put out as content on the platform, people can easily understand your state of mind also behind you putting the content. So whenever I'm not in a good state of mind, I will refrain from putting the content, and the next day I'll make sure that I come up with good quality content. So while I say that it's good to be consistent, I do not compromise on the quality. If I don't feel like writing someday, if I'm facing writer's block, I will skip that day and I will write good quality content on the other day. So I think that's how I've built my content so far, and it's just the general knowledge that I refer to build my content, which everybody can do in my opinion if they just give their time and interest into it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's very well said, because a lot of times people, just are not in the right mindset. And they end up posting something which they later regret, and that's happening now more often than ever, because not only we have more platforms to connect, but it's also very easy to, post different kinds of content, and so that is a very good advice in terms of, like, okay, if you're not feeling your 100%, then do not go ahead and compromise on stuff that you're usually known for. Now, you just mentioned
Yeah.
about the writer's block. Do you think that's an actual thing? Do you think writer's block exists, or is it just something that writers came up with as an excuse?
It actually, this writer's block is just a terminology. In fact, every human being faces some or the other kind of a block. Just because writers have formed a community and given this term leverage, that's how it's become popular. But I think writers are nobody but humans at the end of the day. And everybody has their share of good and bad days. And, it's just a result of those experiences that you gather, that your thoughts are formulated, and based on your thoughts you usually write. But sometimes it's actually good to be in a state of emptiness wherein you have nothing in your mind. You just have silence. You are sitting in a very calm and a peaceful environment and focusing on what you've done so far, reflecting on your work, and just thinking about how good as a soul you are. As philosophical it may sound, but it's actually very helpful. And this is the block that everybody faces, that they just don't write because they do not because they don't have content, but because they don't have that energy to write. And if you need to re-energize yourself, there is no good thing than meditation to do. Or meditation is not just sitting, closing your eyes and thinking about something. Meditation could be reading a book, listening to some good music, painting. Everybody's definition of meditation can differ. There is no universal rule that says that you have to follow this particular definition. It is us as society who's running behind one particular definition, but you know that's not true. So yeah, I think there is no concept such as writer's block, at least for me. And I think the only way to overcome that block that you have in your mind is through letting go of, and you can only do it by not thinking about it and doing something else that helps you engage your mind.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, uh, I also write, in the sense, I write screenplays and narratives and short stories and all of that, because as a media entrepreneur, that is something that I have to do to come up with new ideas and new concepts. And yeah, I also agree that there is no such thing like uh, writer's block, in the sense that, okay, if you hit a particular limit when you're trying to come up with a new idea, that's only because you do not have enough you do not have enough experience or understanding of that subject matter, which usually gets resolved with some research or some discussion with other people who might have more relevant understanding of those experiences.
And I just wanted to add one more point here, that writer's block is just like a speed breaker on the road, which is definitely essential. It's not always good to move ahead with lots and lots of speed, but it's good to just stop, pause, and reflect on what you're doing, slow down, and then accelerate your mind again to push yourself ahead, to pen down your thoughts and carry on to your journey. So yeah, I think it's very important in life to have hard stops, to have heartbreaks. It's actually good to feel such kind of experiences, because that's how you are built up as a person. If everything is given to you at the face value, if you achieve everything easily in life, you're not really living the life. Life is set of all kind of experiences, ups and downs, you know. So I think a writer's block is a good thing to have and nothing to shy about, because many people these days, I've heard from them saying that, oh my god, I'm facing this writer's block and this is not me. I have been writing so well. I don't know why is this happening to me. They again go back into the self-critical mode, what I spoke about earlier. So I think it's good to reflect on yourself, but it's not good to criticize on the reflection that you do. So yeah, I think that was my another thought that I would like to say.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. You are so correct in that. And brain takes time to take ideas and turn them into knowledge and into wisdom. So it's definitely a good idea to sometimes give your brain some rest, to come up with even better ideas later on. Now, you also interned with Times of India for a brief period of time. How was that experience?
It was definitely one of my experiences that gave me the entrance to the corporate world, because it was one of my first internships. Uh, I was I think 18 when I got this internship, and we were just a team of around 4 or 5 people working closely for an event, which was the Healthcare Awards, and we had to do everything right from preparing the script for the award function to inviting the doctors to nominating the doctors. It was a process wherein everyone was equally involved, and there were some values that I learned there, from my colleagues who were working along. That it doesn't matter what age you are of, what experience do you have, but if you have that grit, if you have the curiosity to learn newer things, you can definitely surpass even a 10th year person in the same profession. We are today living in an age of internet wherein everything is accessible in just a click. So if you have that enthusiasm in you to explore about different things, you will know about it and you will become an expert in it. It's not rocket science anymore. So I think those were the values that I learned there. And one important thing that the internship taught me was that whenever there exists hierarchy, there is no freedom. Not just freedom to explore things, but also freedom to speak. Whenever you're in a hierarchy, even though when you will be encouraged to speak, you wouldn't be speaking there because you yourself wouldn't feel like, and that only happens when you're not motivated enough and when your efforts are not recognized by your peers. So it's very important that even if you do smallest of the work with perfection or with good quality, if your peers are motivating you, if they are tapping on your back, giving you a high five and saying that good job, it's a motivation in one sense or the other. So I think I got all of that in my internship, and I think that has helped me build as a person more than anything else. And I've always focused on the softer side of skills rather than just focusing on the technical sides of skills in every kind of work that I've done so far. Because at the end of the day, we are all humans, and we are working to develop ourselves more than our professional selves. So, given a choice, I would always choose to be a better person rather than a better professional, you know, because as a professional, you may not give out your heart to someone, you may not help someone, even if you want to. But as a person, if you step into that shoes, you build that character of empathy in yourself and you just go out and help the person because, it's in our nature as humans to help people. But sometimes we wear that mask that doesn't allow us to go out there and talk to people, help them out. So I think that was my internship that actually gave me a door to not just the corporate world but to actual life, how life should be lived. And doctors, if you know, they are life changers and life savers. So working with them also gave me a different perspective to life altogether. So yeah, it was a life learning experience for me, I would say.
Wow, yeah, it seems like the ideal internship experience. I guess everybody should intern at Times of India then. It sounds so great, right?
No, it actually doesn't matter where you intern. It what matters is how you take that internship and how you make the most out of it. I mean, if I would have been at some other place, I would have still, if not gotten from somebody else, I would still have asked for it. Asking questions without any hesitation is what gets you opportunities in life. You really can't wait for the environment to get right. You need to get right within yourself first, and everything will happen on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Now, you also received an award for Best Kathak Performer. Were you ever inclined to pursue a career in dancing?
So I feel that I was already pursuing a career when I was learning Kathak, because if you go back and see to the definition of career, what is it? It is nothing but something that you have done for a significant period of time, which has led you to some kind of an opportunity. Of course, I learned Kathak, I did it over a significant period of time, and it led me to perform, and then that performance gave me the reward that you spoke of. So I think I was already pursuing that career, and it still is a part of my life, you know. And if you're living a life, it is not just necessary to only live a part of it, but to live the whole of it. And you can only complete the whole of it when you live different parts of life. So that was just one part of my life which I've lived, and now I'm exploring different areas of my life to make it complete.
Yeah, yeah. And I relate with that because, the lesser known fact about me is that I was training to be a dancer for 4 years. And while I wanted to pursue that as a career, it just seemed like, you know, the the general consensus around having choreography or dancing as a career was not rewarding enough to sort of pursue it on that level, which in retrospect I think was not a good way to think about it. But well, that's one of the missed opportunities, I guess, of my career. But yeah, I mean, I understand your perspective completely. So that's awesome. uh, right. So how do you balance working with the representative with your full-time job?
So I think balance in my mind is in two directions. If you think about it, one is the kind of balance that just stabilizes you, doesn't let you move because you're balanced in your position and you're just very comfortable there. In other kind of the situation, balance is something which lets you move ahead as if you were riding a bicycle, and there was balance which let you move ahead in life. And I think I am in the latter part of the direction, because I feel that in order to keep moving in life, it's important to have both the wheels of the bicycle running. So I really don't like to remain static at one position and get comfortable in it for my life, but I am a kind of a person who likes to explore different things, which I am doing. through the representative and through my full time job. So I think these two wheels are allowing me to run my life in a way that it's giving me a clear path as to what do I really want to do. I am now clear that I want to do something in content. I want to do something related to public speaking, and I want to educate people, be it through my writing or speaking about different kind of concepts, not just the kind of content I write on LinkedIn, but also some kind of theories that people have not heard of, but will open their eyes. So I think that's the journey that I'm looking on to now. And as different as it may sound, and it's not very, very, what do we say, very mainstream like engineering, doctor, or businessman. It's something very different, but I do have faith in whatever I do, and I think that faith is what helps me balance it out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the kind of success that you enjoy with all the work that you do, I think most doctors and engineers would be envious of that. So I don't think you're missing out anything as such. So that's really great. Now, of course, the kind of work that you do falls, under the broader spectrum of journalism, as in, like, you are bringing developments from the world of business to people. Is there anything in particular you feel like needs to change about the Indian journalism industry or the way news is reported and presented to the viewers in India specifically?
Yeah, I think our interpretation needs to be changed. Journalism is a very beautiful concept, but unfortunately, we have restricted it to different geographical areas. Like you just said, Indian journalism, why can't we call it global journalism? I mean, that would open up the readers to so many more things. But, since we have restricted our audience to certain kind of content, even journalists are more inclined to only cater to those set of audiences. But if the audience becomes open minded, if they are ready to learn about the global developments, I'm sure the journalists will also start writing about the same. So I think it's more to do on the interpretation side that needs to be changed. People need to open up more. I mean, it's good to read about your local news, your regional news, whatever is coming up, but it's also equally important to know the global perspective. And I think if every country starts doing it, we can collaborate with different countries in this world together. And, the world will be much better place to live in. When we say that, how can we make the world a better place to live in? It is through this collaborative effort that each and every individual can make. And journalism is a very powerful tool to shape up thoughts of different individuals, because it's the same news is reached out to different masses. So if we talk about India's GDP growth, there are so many people in India itself who are not aware of what is GDP, or how do they as an individual contribute to it. But I think if these kind of topics are spoken about in a much simplified way, and if they are catered to the audience living in a particular geographical area, then I think the world can change as a whole in terms of economics, in terms of the way we live and behave with people. So I think that's the only kind of an ingredient that needs to be changed. Otherwise, rest is the same and it's going good as far as it is.
Yeah, yeah. So the other thing about Indian journalism is that a lot of it, so yes, as you said, like, major chunks of it are engaged towards bringing, objective reporting and, authentic news. But then there is also a certain section of it that, essentially does sensationalism kind of reporting, where their whole purpose is to like clickbait you into certain headlines, or just come up with shocking headlines to grab your eyeballs. And so, do you what could like a normal person do to understand the difference between authentic reporting and then this kind of sensationalism? Because of course WhatsApp is like one of the notorious tools in India for spreading misinformation, and it has a lot of negative
Hmm.
consequences. But how can one person broaden its horizon to ensure that the news that they're consuming is genuine information.
So, like I said, that it's not the journalists who pass on these WhatsApp forwards, but it's people like you and me or any other layman who would build up a message and then it gets viral and circulated in the WhatsApp groups. A newspaper wouldn't ever report fake news, and hence it's important for people to believe in what the newspaper says, in what the authentic media publication houses say. Now, of course, there's no tool to determine which news is authentic or no, but I'm sure that every educated person might know that which news platform is authentic in that regard. I mean, take an example of Times of India, which is circulated India wide. I'm sure most of the people know about it. And I think if they want to consume content, if they want to believe in authenticity of the content, the best way is to follow the authentic platforms. I mean, there's no other way to follow it otherwise. And it's a democratic country. Neither can we stop people from doing so because they're just expressing their thoughts. And I don't think so there is any harm in it. I mean, it's up to you that you interpret it in a negative way. The writer or the person who had this thought in mind might not ever had that intention of letting a fight occur out of the message, but it's up to you how you interpret it. I mean, it's a free world and each to its own. I mean, you really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you know that's one of the pillars of democracy where, like, the journalism holds truth to power, but then that also sometimes can be misconstrued by a lot of people. So yes, I think a lot of responsibility falls on the consumers or the news readers to ensure that they are making informed opinions. Now,
Yeah.
what would your advice be, one piece of advice to aspiring content creators, especially females?
Okay, why do you ask for especially females? I mean, is there some different kind of a mindset for female content creators that males do not have?
I mean, the reason why I specify female is that sometimes, and this is more, prevalent in the finance industry, is like when people speak about, things like, oh, there was this mergers and acquisition deal, or there was this, some mutual fund, offering, and people don't tend to take them seriously because they sort of like, finance is seen as this like big boys bad boys club kind of a thing, and so I see sometimes, a lot of authentic well researched female content creators sometimes struggle to uh, gain traction because they are held back by this impression that, oh, women wouldn't know much about finance, or things like that. So that's why I said, but I mean, you can open it up to everybody in that sense if you want.
Yeah. No, I think we have great female finance leaders also. Like one of them is Moitra, who just now joined the parliament as well, and she's going strong. We have Sucheta Dalal, who had written about the Harshad Mehta case, and there are many more examples to talk about. So I don't think so that there is a scenario in our world that people wouldn't believe what the women is saying in the financial domain. But of course, if somebody is making sense, they would definitely give it a year. And there is no differentiation as such, as far as I've known. If you see on CNBC, ET now, most of the financial reporters they are females, and people are listening to them in huge numbers. So I don't really agree with the case that only when a male speaks is when people hear it. But coming back to your question of what advice would I like to give, is that just follow your heart. Don't really bother about what people say, because it builds many negative connotations in your mind that will not even allow you to do the things that you are good at. It will just allow you to focus on your negatives and forget about your positives. So, I mean, just focus on your goal. It doesn't matter if people support it or not. If your mentor, if your guide is supporting you, it's enough. And it's important to find that mentor in your life. You know, just to give you an example, a nature's example, I mean, a seedling doesn't grow into a plant without any external factors. It needs that sunlight, it needs that water to grow up. So, similarly, we as humans, we need a mentor in our life. We need somebody who can guide us on the right path. We may not always be right, we may not always go in the right direction, but it's fine. That's how we learn what failure is, that's how we taste it. But at the same time, we can't be tasting failures again and again, right? Because we'll just lose out on our confidence and stop trying things out. So, to get on the right path again, to get stable in life, it's important to be surrounded by the right kind of people. And this shouldn't turn into a greed that you are only meeting people because you want to be surrounded around them. There should be a sense of naturality in you. Often I've seen this in college that people want to enter into a group of friends just because they are very influential in college. They don't want to enter into a friendship with them as friends, but because the benefit they will get out of them. So, whenever you have this salivating greed, people can see it in your eyes and they can sense it. So, just be natural. Don't talk to people or don't connect with people only for the purpose of it, but just be natural humans to them. Just connect with them as if they were your friends, family, or cousins. And the bond that you will build out of it will be just surreal. You wouldn't even imagine what good results can it bring to you. So, leaving work aside, look at life in a way that you are just another companion to a person. How can you help that person in your own ways? Try to try to enter into their personal lives in the sense that you don't invade the privacy, but at the same time, how do you make that person enjoy your company? But that shouldn't look as desperation to do certain things. There's a very thin line of difference between doing things for the sake of it and doing things because you enjoy it. So focus on the latter part. I know it's very difficult for youngsters, especially, to understand what they are doing. But of course, if they make mistakes, only then will they realize what's right and what's wrong. So it's good to do whatever comes to our mind, but it's also good to, like I said, have a mentor in life to have a clear direction in life.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a sage advice, and learning from mistakes and having someone to guide your efforts is always beneficial. So yeah, I think that's great. My final question to you is: are you working on any exciting projects or ideas? And if yes, then what can the viewers expect from you going ahead?
Honestly, right now I'm working with you on this podcast, and that's what is exciting for me at the moment. And the viewers can expect this to roll out soon in the form of both podcast and audio. And I am sure that if they listen to it, they will learn something or the other. And the reason why I said this is because I live in the present moment. Of course, I estimate the future value of things, I estimate what the future outcomes will be. But I am a person who will always believe in living in the present moment, because the future is so uncertain today. And there is a human tendency that, of course, humans like predictability, but what excites human is unpredictability. So I like to be that kind of a person, and that's how I build excitement around myself, and that's how people are also excited when they meet me. So I think, yeah, that's the way to go forward. And yeah, I think that's about it.
That's great. Yeah. And I think, people underestimate the value of living in present because either they are stuck in past, which means they are depressed, or they are looking at future, which means they are anxious. And, essentially,
Right.
if you just focus on present, then you will always be able to adapt yourself to whatever is it that you're looking for, both professionally and emotionally. So, yeah, I think that's a wonderful piece of advice to close this on. And I'm glad that you were able to share your experiences and your journey with me and the viewers and listeners. So I thank you for that. And I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, indeed. It was lovely to interact with you. Usually, these kind of conversations are more of Q&A, but it is equally good to hear your perspectives on such kind of questions, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. So thanks a lot for having me.